All right. Let's get our Facebook groups going. Come on. Let's do one more. All right. Welcome in. Welcome in. And it's time for Broncos for breakfast. I am riding solo today. Scott's on dad duty, driving around for baseball. So, just me today. Good to see everybody in the chat. Let's say hello to some folks as we get it going here. We got Denver Luke in the house saying good morning, Nick and Scott. You always make my day a little better. Well, it's good to see you, Denver. Luke. Awesome to see you. Hope you're doing well. Happy Wednesday to you, and thank you for the kind words. We got Colin Wood saying, "Welcome to today's episode of Bronco Bashing Breakfast." Uh, no bashing today. We're hanging out. Hope you're doing well. Colin is that we might as well forfeit every game. Uh, Not Colin, just covering what's out there right now. And hey, if you don't like it, you don't have to hang out with us. It's fine. Jeremy Sean, good morning, Nick. I'm optimistic that we're going to surprise the national media this season, and I'm personally enjoying all the slander. Yeah, for me, I don't have high expectations this season. That's fine. I think that this is a rebuild team, and they're dealing with the fallout of lack of draft capital and the salary cap hit from the Russell Wilson misstep. And it's going to be a blip, and hopefully they can get it right here pretty soon. I'm pretty confident in the direction of the team. Lots going to come down to the quarterback, of course, but it does seem like they at least have an idea of what they want to do and what direction they're pulling, and it hasn't felt that way in a while. Maybe that's me drinking the Sean Payton Kool-Aid, but if he's been successful, he knows what he wants to do. He knows what a successful operating football organization looks like, so happy to have him in here. Michael comes in and says ESPN, LOL. ESPN does good work. I mean, I don't know. I like Seth Walder. I don't always agree with some of the analytical processes and takes that he has in his models and the conclusions that he draws from the data, but still, it's worth talking about. And he doesn't. I mean, it's not a bad grade for the Broncos in this one, all things considered. Uh, Maybe a little bit grading on the curve because of the lack of draft picks and the fallout of the Russell Wilson trade and release. But hey, that's the reality we find ourselves in. Mark in here, good to see you. Mark, he says, "Let's go Broncos." Always great to see you, Mark. I hope you're doing well. Appreciate you. We got our guy Michael coming in. Says, "Good morning, Nick, on Broncos for breakfast. Go Broncos! Mile high salute." Great to see you, Michael. I hope all is well. And we got Mark Schrader in here as well saying, "Good morning, Nick." Awesome to see you, Mark. Appreciate you reaching out the other day. Mark was asking about the Mile High Huddle meet and greet. So the Mile High Huddle meet and greet will be happening on, I believe it is September 15th. Of course, when I click the calendar, why doesn't it actually go to a calendar on the thing? Oh, we got 10,000 notifications first. Yeah, September 15th will be that Broncos Steelers game. That's when the meet and greet will be. I am planning on being there. I'm going to be there with my wife and newborn. He'll be not a newborn at that point anymore, but it'll be great to be out there in Denver and hopefully see a Denver win versus, it's a little bit of a revenge game. I'm excited to be a part of the play clock countdown. Although, do we want to help Russell Wilson in that Steelers offense with that? I don't know. Bobby comes in and says, "Denver Broncos for life." Awesome to see you, Bobby. Hope you're doing pretty well. And thank you for coming in over on Facebook. So today we're talking about the grades from ESPN, from Seth Walder, who does, like I said, good work over at ESPN in the analytics side of things. This is from yesterday. And he writes, "Every NFL team's offseason goal is to improve. Depending on an individual team's timeline, that might mean getting better now or getting better later or simply setting itself up for a chance to get better down the road. But no matter where an organization is, the offseason requires a flurry of team-building decisions that will have a lasting impact on their franchise for years to come. With that, we're taking a leap and grading every team's 2024 offseason. The grades you see below are only about this offseason, and they are focused on the choices each team made based on the situation they are in to start the offseason. For example, the Bears won't get much consideration for drafting quarterback Caleb Williams. He was almost certainly a Bear from the day the offseason began. But trading for wide receiver Keenan Allen, that was a decision and move that took effort. Everything is fair game in this exercise: free agency, trades, draft picks, extensions, coaching changes. We'll start with the best graded teams and go to the worst. Teams that have identical grades are listed alphabetical order. Let's dive in and grade all 32 teams." So let's say hello to some more people in the chat before we start digging in to the Broncos grades here. We got Bobby says, "How can I get good tickets to go to it?" I don't have the ticket hookup like that. I'll be heading there with going to the game. I don't think my wife and mom will be going to the game, but my dad and I will be. We'll be using Ticketmaster or something. If you guys have the hookup, let me know. They're expensive. I know that, but that's it should be a good game. We got Kevin comes in, says thought on D Tillman, go Broncos. Yeah, Broncos bring in a UFL pass rusher, 6'3", 270, pretty productive there. Going to be 27 years old. Uh, Training camp competition with the likes of the undrafted guys they brought in the last couple of years, Thomas Incoom. And if an injury happens, knock on wood, or you see Browning / Cooper shipped off last year, their contract, you never know. We saw that a couple of years ago with Malik Reed. It's possible. Then you see Tillman have a better chance, but they obviously wanted to bring a little bit more into the room. For anybody who's going to be the 5th or 6th edge rush on the depth chart, a lot of your ability to stick on roster is going to come down to special teams. So we'll see about that given his body type at 270 pounds. But it should be a fun one to watch. I mean, preseason, we'll get the tape. I think they're going to release all 22 for preseason tape this season, if I'm not mistaken. I might be misremembering. But I mean, gosh, nothing gets me going like pass rushers. So pulling for him. Hope he is a contributor to this team, and we'll see what happens when the tape's out there. Jeremy Sean says, revenge against our bad decision making. Yeah, that's a Taco Bell or a drinking the next morning, right? It's a hangover. We're in the Russell Wilson hangover right now. A lot of times you talk about the Super Bowl hangover, but I feel like most hangovers follow bad decisions, right? Or too many bad decisions. So, yeah, it's Denver needs to win that one for sure. It's their home game. It's a tough schedule this year overall, and to get going on the right foot, I mean, it's impossible to say week 2 games a must win, but if you come out of that one winning at Seattle is going to be tough. I don't really think their defense is that good, but Seattle's a tough place to play, especially for rookie quarterback first start. He has not played in many, at least at Oregon, not too many completely raucous environments. Sorry, I live out in Pac-12 country, and I will say that Washington Oregon game I went to this year was pretty rambunctious, but most environments I would say are pretty sleepy out here on the in Pac-12. RIP. So, but Bo Nix played at Auburn and SEC, so he's used to big stages and loud crowds. And Seattle will be loud and raucous for that one. It's a different vibe. When I went to the Seattle Bronco game 2 years ago, I was expecting it just to be madness, and maybe it's because I've been in student sections for a lot, but it didn't have the same like level of ferociousness and just frothing at the mouth that you get at like a college game, that at least college games that I've been to, but it'll be loud and it'll be tough. So that week 2 game, very big, and it would be good to get a little bit of bragging rights against Russell Wilson. I know Sean Payton would definitely love to win that game, but so would Wilson. So obviously, but should be interesting, and we'll be there. Mile High Huddle is yet to host a meet and greet where the Mile High Huddleians have witnessed a Bronco loss, so hopefully that streak can continue. Pearl Heater in the house saying hi, Nick and all. Great to see you, Pearl. Hope you're doing well. Always love seeing the Corgos coming in here. And we got our guy, Ernie Mays. Hello, go Broncos country only. Go Ernie Mays. Not only, because I'm pulling for everybody in here, but it's always good to hear from you, Ernie. Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a good Father's Day weekend, and life's going well wherever you're at. So we're getting to the Broncos grades here. We do want to start off with the teams graded before the Broncos. I'm not going to read all the text for that, but just kind of get an idea of who outranks the Broncos in terms of ESPN analytics. Seth Walder, his own grading. So Eagles get an A. They extended A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith. They brought in Bryce Huff. They signed Saquon Barkley. Good draft. Brought in Vic Fangio. They get an A. They're the only team with a pure A. So Howie Roseman continues to get high marks. I feel like I want to give credit to it. I don't like to give credit to this person. Oh my gosh, his name is escaping me because he's always a hater on the Broncos. Nick Wright? Yeah, it was Nick Wright talking about Howie Roseman. He just always does what the consensus general open source analytics say to do. So he always gets high grades because of that. And there's some truth to that, right? Like last season, everybody's like, oh, Nolan Smith, what a steal. And hasn't done very much. There's instances like that, but the Eagles get the only A. Coming in with A minuses, you have the Chiefs getting an A minus, the Chargers with an A minus. You don't love to see that. 2 AFC West opponents there. The Dolphins get an A minus, the Patriots get an A minus. So unfortunately, 1, 2, all four teams in the AFC. The AFC is very tough. I'm hoping Drake May doesn't hit. I like Drake May. It'd make me look worse because I thought he was going to be a heck of a quarterback, but we don't need any more young star quarterbacks in the AFC. B pluses now. We're not there yet for Denver. B plus, we have the Chicago Bears, the Cleveland Browns, the Indianapolis Colts, the New York Jets. Again, more AFC teams. These are just offseason grades, so we'll see how predictive they are, but those are your B pluses. No Denver yet. Now we got our Bs. We got the Ravens, the Bengals, the Steelers, the 49ers, and the Seahawks, and the Bucks, and the Titans. So there are your Bs. No Denver yet. Again, man, I feel like we've already named almost all the AFC in this, which is unfortunate. But again, is it going to actually be predictive to the on-the-field results of the season? Probably not. And then you got the B minuses, and now we get to Denver. So the B minus teams are the Panthers, the Broncos, the Packers, the Texans, the Rams. So what do they say about Denver? Before we dig into that B minus, let's say hello to some more people in the chat. MLA coming in here saying, I haven't been listening to sports media, but I'm guessing they're hating us as usual. Denver's been an afterthought. They have an unknown at quarterback that a lot of people didn't think in the general media was worth the pick. And there's some Sean Payton hate in general. A lot of people don't like him in the NFL because he is abrasive and confident and just has rubbed some people the wrong way. He's definitely the old school coach that way, but he's our old school abrasive coach, right? So we'll see how it plays out. But yeah, I mean, Chiefs are the darling. Chargers are exciting everybody loves Herbert, and Jim Harbaugh's there now. Luckily, the Raiders seem to be more of an afterthought than Denver is, which at least makes me feel better. I don't know about you guys, but yeah, until Denver wins games, people are going to be questioning. Maybe, I don't know about outright hating. There are some out there, but Denver's not a team that has done anything to garner confidence in recent history. So they'll be an afterthought until results on the field prove otherwise. And hopefully that starts coming around here pretty soon. And again, that starts with Bo Nix showing to be a competent, confident, ascending young quarterback. Conga comes in and says they'll hate this team until it shows something to like. Exactly. I mean, I don't even know if it's hate. It's just they're not relevant right now. They have the best team in football, arguably one of the best quarterbacks of all time. Chiefs are going for, 3 Super Bowls in a row? Has that even ever happened before? So they're very much in the shadows right now. And with the Russell Wilson and terrible trade, some of the mismoves that you saw from them, they've been in a hole. But hopefully they're starting to climb. They get their climb back out. Eric Flynn comes in here with the support. Thank you so much, Eric. Happy Wednesday to you. Happy Hump Day. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. MLA says, yeah, you can't blame them. Yeah, it's a tough spot for the Broncos right now. They are very much in the shadow, but hey, we'll make progress in the shadow. People can keep ignoring them, and hopefully, end of the season, Broncos are, oh my gosh, Broncos are right there in the playoff hunt. How'd that happen? Or next season, wow, Broncos are in a good spot. They found their quarterback. They got a lot of money now. They still have a little bit of Russell Wilson dead cap hit, but you got owners who want to spend. You got a young ascending core. Hopefully that's the position that we're in, but we have to let the results play out, right? Rob Bucksbaum says, good morning, Nick. Happy Wednesday. Less than a month until rookies report. Football's right around the corner. Don't take my summer from me, guys. Love summer a lot out here in the Pacific Northwest. We already have a 3,000 acre fire burning on the east side of Lake Chelan, but should be a good summer. In July, I'm going to do a small backpacking trip when my mother-in-law's in town to hang out with the wife and the newborn. And then I won backpacking permits to climb Mount Whitney in the end of July. So that'll be fun. Mount Whitney is the tallest mountain in the contiguous United States, and it's a very competitive lottery to climb, and didn't think I'd win, and I did. So that'll be a challenge. It'll be a lot of fun. That's my big trip this season. We got David says, good morning to you. Good to see you, David Youngkin. Hope you're doing well. Always great to see you. We got Broncos Tube saying 5 straight, a lot of wins against playoff teams. I'm not sure what the 5 straight is in reference to. Maybe, I don't know, but Denver did have a lot of wins against playoff teams last year, but they also lost against teams picking number 2 and number 3 overall, and almost lost against the team picking number 1. Now, granted, the Bears didn't earn that number 1 pick. It was from the Panthers, but very Jekyll and Hyde. It was great to see them beat Kansas City and Buffalo, but you also freaking lost to the bleeping Patriots and Commanders, who were god awful. I mean, just terrible. Losing twice to the Raiders, too. I mean, can't have it. Good teams don't do that. So hopefully Denver will start taking care of business against bad teams while still being competitive and beating those playoff contenders as well. Roy Osborne comes in and says, "Good morning, Nick and Broncos country. Hope you're doing well, Roy." And yeah, MLA says, "Yeah, no team's ever won 3 Super Bowls in a row, and they better not be the first." God, man, I really, really hope not. Great to see you, Roy. Always appreciate you coming in. Diamond Rattler, it's been a bit, Diamond. Hope you're doing well. We got the oh no, he's got the he's a green. Diamond Rattler supporting the High Towers, man. This team we stand the rightful queen and Team Black without a doubt. So good to see you, Diamond. Hope you're doing well. Not to get too nerdy in here for you guys. Jeremy says, "I feel great going into the season without any major expectations except competitiveness and being off people's radar. We can quietly build chemistry in the roster. It's a building season. I mean, Colin Wood might think that's hate. We're covering what's out there right now, which is a lot of Broncos finishing low in ranking lists. But again, you're dealing with less capital. This is always built to be once Russell Wilson was not the guy, it was going to be pretty darn hard to field a championship caliber roster in the immediacy. So this is a step back season. Denver went out and got some strategic pieces, and they took a shot at quarterback. We'll see. A lot can change. We should be excited about that. And again, expectations, wins, loss, they'll be what they are. I'm looking for individual young players and a nucleus to emerge that we can build with going forward. That's what I'm looking for this season. Pearl mentions the Olympics, says, "At least we have the Olympics in the offseason. I admit I'm an Olympic junkie." What's your favorite Olympic event, Pearl? I've always liked the Winter Olympics a little bit more. I'm gonna be actually really odd here. I love curling. I think it's super fun. And also the European championships are going on right now. My Deutschland playing today, my team. But always great to see you, Pearl. Oh, Diamond says a Team Black too. Okay, you can stay. I wasn't going to boot you for that, but Eamon's cool. Damon's the most fun. Yeah, for sure. Dave Glassman says, "Sean improved the team with Russ. He'll do the same with whoever's under center." I think that's true long term. There's a very strong reality that Bo Nix does not put up the same numbers that Wilson did last season, but we'll see. Again, Wilson had some positives last season. That backyard football, he created some plays. It was just the consistency, getting on base consistently, drawing walks, to use some baseball analogies there. That they struggled with that, but I'm expecting it to be better. And we, again, seeing some young guys emerge. Really want to find some young offensive guys emerge. I mean, we need Mims to step up. It'd be great if Franklin ends up being a really good wide receiver. The offensive line, I mean, don't have many young investments on there right now, but we need some young guys to step up for sure. Jeremy says, "Nice having Game of Thrones back on TV. It's so well done and wipes out the bad taste from the final episode." Yeah, I was a little bit disappointed that they did the blood and cheese. They deviated from the book because how they did in the book was even more sinister, but it was good. It was a good episode. Rob Bucksbaum Curling is awesome. Agreed on the unpopular opinion. Very fun for sure. Broncos Tube says, "Coming in this season, I see us much better than the Panthers, Raiders, Commanders, Bears, Patriots, Giants." I think the Bears are actually pretty good. That's a team that I'm curious. I mean, it's going to come down to the rookie quarterback, of course. But yeah, I think I might take the Bears roster over the Broncos. Giants are hit or miss for me. I'm with you on the Panthers, Raiders, Commanders, and Patriots. The thing that's really just scares the heck out of me, Broncos Tube, is that you say the Raiders, and I agree with you, but the Broncos haven't beaten the Raiders since 2019? It's been too long. For as terrible as they are, how the hell has Denver not beaten the Raiders since that week 16, week 17 game when Shelby Harris batted down the 2-point conversion? It's just, that just ticks me off so much. I hate the Raiders so much, and they've been so bad. GGG coming in says, "Way to hold it down, Nick." Thank you so much, GGG. Appreciate you coming in and supporting the show. That helps us a heck of a lot, especially this time of year. It's the lean years right now. That's why, talking about Broncos ranked 32nd in quarterback, Broncos ranked blah, blah, blah. It's ready for some real football to break down the tape rather than breaking down other people's takes all the time. But hey, you know what? The coffee's good. The coffee's warm, and I better take a sip because The baby woke up at 4:30 this morning, and I went to bed at 11. So not a lot of sleep. I really debated not coming on today because Scott's not going to be there, but I'm like, I need Colin Wood to give me a hard time, but otherwise my day's not going to be complete. So a little coffee here. Oh, man. God bless. I didn't drink coffee until grad school, guys. I don't know what was wrong with me. Something's still wrong, obviously. So getting into the Broncos here, their grade from Seth Walder, having a B-, which is very much middle of the pack for the grades here. The biggest move, Walder says, is the Broncos drafting Nix. The move he liked the most was the Broncos drafting Nix. And the move he disliked was the Broncos losing Lloyd Cushenberry in free agency. Interesting. So we have, he says, the Broncos were in a tough spot entering the offseason as they needed to cut Russell Wilson to avoid committing more money to him, but were left with needing a quarterback. They waited until the draft to address the position, and by the time they were on the clock, 5 quarterbacks were already off the board. It's hard to criticize them for this. There seemed to be absolutely no way to move up into the top 3 from one of the first tier of quarterbacks, which, yep, I mean, I think it was possible you would have seen the Vikings move up to number 3 to take Drake May, which it didn't happen. So not possible. Denver drafted Nix at 12 overall, perhaps a bit early, but again, hard to knock. When you don't have a quarterback, even the chance of hitting on a rookie quarterback is extremely valuable. I like that point. Broncos traded away receiver Jerry Jeudy to the Browns for a 5th and 6th round picks. While I remain stubbornly bullish on Jeudy and would have preferred to keep him, I can understand a team in Denver's situation starting over at quarterback and building for 2025 and beyond. So going back to Seth Walder's original point about this team not really building for 2024, but a long-term one, and that's why they probably get a B- rather than a lower grade. This is 2025 and beyond, and I align with Seth in that one. Moving on and taking the guaranteed draft picks compensation. Cortland Sutton remains on the roster to support Nix, and there are young receivers and Marvin Mims and Troy Franklin as well. The Broncos also signed Josh Reynolds in free agency. Denver also released second-team All-Pro Justin Simmons to save money and lost Lloyd Cushenberry, who ranked in both top 5 in pass block and run block win rate at center in free agency. The latter stings because Cushenberry is young and could have been a long-term part of Denver rosters, though again, this team seems focused on 2025 and later. The Broncos also made 2 low-cost trades with the Jets for quarterback Zach Wilson and defensive end John Franklin Myers. So there you have it. Broncos with a B-. We'll round out the rest of the teams there to see who they want and who they grade lower. But yeah, and Colin says, dude, I've been a Bronco fan for longer than you've been on this planet, but don't portray me as a hater, just a realist. I'm not saying that you're a hater, Colin. I think you're sometimes a hater of me or us being critical on here, but I try to be a realist as well. So I'm just razzing you, Colin. We got FC coming in saying Craig Morton was a quarterback when I started watching them. Yeah, my first memory of watching football was the Super Bowl 32 with John Elway in the helicopter. I was 5 years old, and I was like, oh man, this is amazing. And I watched the VHS tapes on repeat. I mean, I swear to God, I had the 1998 home run chase, Sammy Sosa, Mark McGuire VHS tape, and Super Bowl 32 and 33, and I would just play those on loop all the time. So getting back to it here. So the Broncos, I agree with Seth. Overall, as you guys know, I had Bo Nix more as a day 2 grade, but being a little older, I thought the arm talent was just okay. Some questions about his pocket movement, ability to handle pressure when he has to hold on to the ball. But I think that the chance of hitting on a rookie quarterback contract, especially with the straits that the Broncos are in, and one that your head coach seems to really like and identified and is a scheme fit by all accounts, is a good get and a worthwhile risk at 12. Even if Bo Nix misses or ends up just, let's say the 20th best quarterback in the NFL, it's probably worth the risk of 12 overall. Now, in the end of the day, there is an opportunity cost. You could have gotten an edge rusher, something else, but you're nowhere in this league without a quarterback. So I understand taking the calculated risk, and I'm optimistic that Nix can be a hit in Denver. So excited about that, and I agree with Seth completely that it was the biggest move. I like the most, though. I can't help it. I am who I am. My favorite move was bringing in John Franklin Myers for as cheap as they did. I don't expect him to be a superstar on that line, but you need just waves of dudes on the defensive line. And it's been an issue for Denver, and he's been a really solid contributor. So bringing in John Franklin Myers was my favorite move personally, but definitely doesn't create the same waves that a Knicks move brings, without a doubt. And I am a little bit surprised to see him talk about Lloyd Cushenberry being the biggest thing he hated. Cushenberry got a huge contract. Denver didn't really have that much money. And I have, maybe it's somewhat unfounded only with 1 year of results so far, but I have high faith in Zach Strief, Broncos offensive line coach, to find a center and get it right. And Cushenberry got paid. Did he get paid the highest center contract ever? I mean, he got paid good money, and he had struggled for the most part up to that point in Denver. Now, granted, centers can take some time. I mean, even some of the best centers Denver has had, they had like redshirt seasons in the practice squad before even taking the field. So Cush going out there and starting as a rookie as a center as the 76th pick or something, or lower than that, 85th, something like that. That's not bad. But that's I don't fully disagree that it's like a terrible move for Denver. It makes sense for where they're at and how much they're already paying on the offensive line. I mean, you can't probably pay 5 guys across the line. I guess maybe you can when you're paying a rookie quarterback, but you got to fix the stuff on the defense. You might have to pay a weapon at some point. It's hard to pay 5 guys on the offensive line. I think it was very much we have so much money allotted to the offensive line. We'll see what happens with Bowles next year. But if we pay Cushenberry, we're going to take away from the budget to pay Miners. And Miners is more of a needle mover for the Broncos than Cushenberry is. So it is too bad that Denver's not going to be getting a compensatory pick for Cushenberry. Now, granted, it wouldn't have been a 3rd round pick or anything, I don't think. But that is, I don't mind that move too much. I think my biggest gripe is releasing Justin Simmons if that was always the inevitable conclusion. It would have been great if we could have traded him sooner. I mean, just losing an asset like that. I know he's still out there. I don't know if it's an OTAs thing, contract thing or whatever, but you'd think last year during the trade deadline or last offseason, if you were coming to this conclusion that, yeah, we're going to move on from Justin Simmons, that maybe move on sooner. That's the one. It just feels like you lost a little bit of value. But that is one that I am just a little bummed about. But I also love Simmons. I'm a little biased there. Talking about the VHS tapes, some nostalgia coming in here. That's hilarious. I watched the Super Bowl 32 season on VHS as a kid so many times. I mean, over and over and over again. Jeremy says he bought the DVDs because he wore out the VHSs. Yeah, that's VHS tapes degrade over time. I don't know if they still work. Granted, I even have a VHS player, but man, loved watching those, and also the home run chase VHS that I had. It was a lot of fun. Jeremy says, Nick, obviously it's still early, but he's still feeling better about Knicks at 12 or the same? I'm feeling better just because the opportunity cost to get up, and we were talking about the Vikings are trying really hard to get up to 3 by all reports afterwards. It's like, oh, actually, we love JJ, but I mean, they were trying to get Drake May. Come on. And it would have been really hard for them to do that. And I like JJ slightly more. Or I did not slightly. I like JJ more than Knicks just because the perceived upside. I thought he was a little bit more toolsy and obviously much younger. But Knicks was identified as Peyton's guy, and even if he doesn't hit, you got to take swings at it at some point. So hopefully he ends up being the guy. This is a 2-year trial here for him, barring an abject, historical Josh Rosen level disaster next season. But that is I understand the process, and I'm optimistic. I wish he'd have, come in and been like the obvious guy in OTAs and everything and beat out Stidham handily, but that's I wish many things, right? So that's we're still waiting to see, of course. No games have even been played yet. But it's I understand the process, and I'm optimistic. And by all accounts too, he seems like he has the extras, right? The drive, the intelligence, like what it takes mentally to be a quarterback from a work ethic and maturity perspective. He seems to have that. So we'll see if it works out. A lot of guys, are that and don't work out, but why not be optimistic on that one? We'll wait and see. We have Alabama Green said, dude, I know it's off topic. Are you familiar with Jordan Willis, Kansas City Chiefs fan whose 3 best friends froze to death in his backyard. You guys have about the same profession. Jordan Willis. I heard about the Kansas City guy whose friends died. I didn't read too much into it because that sounded morbid, and I don't know, but that's about as much as I know. I didn't know we're in the same profession or anything either, but that's horrific. I mean, God, that's crazy. Was it during the Miami game when it was crazy cold out there with the people getting frostbite at the stadium? That's nuts. We got Colin saying, how many first round picks get a second contract from their original team? That's a good question. Oh, man, I'd imagine probably about 50%. But yeah, that's one I'm not sure about. And Jeremy says, I think that's more about Stidham than Knicks. Well, I hope so. We'll see once the results are in there on the field. It's kind of hard to judge no pads, OTAs versus your own teammates. So we'll see. But getting back to this comments from Seth Walder here with his analysis. I think it is interesting that he mentioned the Jerry Jeudy trade without talking about the contract. He talked about the getting the draft picks, but 5th and 6th, you don't get a lot of value for a 5th and 6th round pick, especially this last draft class. But Denver created, what was it, $11 million in cap space, something like that, from moving on from Jeudy. So the fact that they were able to get someone to take him on and get some picks was okay by me. But I agree. I think Jeudy was in a situation where he wasn't out with a quarterback that really fit him, and I'm excited to see what he can do. I'm not pulling against Jeudy by any means. I think there's still a lot of potential there if he can stay healthy. Not the most physical player, catch point, blocking, but he can still be a good player. But overall, I think it's a fair grade for Denver, getting a B-. Honestly, if you're grading them based on long-term perspective, I guess I might even give them a B, right? Because they bit the bullet on Russell Wilson. There is some value and cojones to doing that. So I'm positive on that. They moved on from Simmons as well, which I'm talking on both sides of my mouth. If you're going to do that, do it sooner so you can get some value. But going cheaper at the position with Jones, it does seem like a team that's in a rebuild season. So we'll see what happens with that. Moving on, though, I want to talk about the teams that got lower grades than Denver. So the C pluses now. So Denver very much middle of the pack in their grades. Arizona gets a C plus, Bills get a C plus, Jags get a C plus, Giants C plus, Commanders C plus, Lions get a C, Falcons get a C minus, Minnesota gets a C minus, Dallas with a D plus, Raiders with a D, New Orleans with a D. Got to love that. I don't know if you guys saw, Sports Info Solution did like a simulator and they had the Saints winning like 12 games or something. Well, and the Raiders winning a bunch of games too. So two of the worst teams according to ESPN's analytics. Granted, this seems more subjective than formula data driven, but Saints and Raiders coming out there with the worst grades. So it is be interesting to see how that all plays out. But Denver with a B minus, I think it's a fair grade. I think it's a fair grade for Denver. Jeremy comes in and says Stidham has been the biggest surprise of OTAs. Second unit system really helps. Yeah, I mean, second unit system, new language last year coming from that Earhart Perkins to the more West Coast Sean Payton style. And I hope it's more about Stidham than Knicks. But if you use a 12th overall pick versus a cheap, veteran quarterback who only had 2 starts coming in before last season, you hope Knicks takes it and runs with it. And I think if it's even close at all, you're probably giving it to Knicks. But it'd be great if Stidham came out. I mean, I remember talking with, I interviewed Jordan Palmer walking out back to the rental cars after attending the Missouri Pro Day. And he was talking about, we're talking about Drew Lock. We're out there to see Drew Lock, and he was working with Drew Lock. And he mentioned just how impressive Stidham's arm was and how he spun the ball unprompted. So Stidham's always had a great arm, really high recruit out there at Baylor, and then transfers to Auburn. Pulling for him as well. He seems like a good guy, and also doesn't seem to be much animosity in that room. He understands that, he's kind of a journeyman at this point, has a lot to prove. They use a 12th overall pick. Well, yeah, makes sense. I haven't proven anything. So hopefully Knicks ends up being the guy, but Stidham is not somebody to pull against either. Broncos Tube says, Nick, appreciate you doing these live shows, especially this time of day. Helps over here on Florida time to make things go. Yeah, I mean, it's a little easier when I don't have the 5:30 a.m. Falcons show as well, but appreciate the kind words, Broncos Tube. FC Downley says, if Knicks is doing as well in the system as Stidham, that sort of says a lot about Knicks. I don't think Knicks is doing as well by the reports of OTAs, but how much are we taking OTAs as like this indicative of what's going to happen this season. Probably not too much, right? Especially this early, but it sounds like Stidham was winning and looking better early. So we'll see how the rest of as we progress to the season looks like. And Jeremy says Judy's kind of like the really pretty girl who's kind of boring to chat with. You keep trying until you finally accept things. She ain't too bright, huh? Yeah, no, that might be it. How hot are we talking here, Jeremy? No, that's possible for Judy. I kind of get that. I mean, you're holding out hope. I really think that again, a lot of wide receivers. He's not a wide receiver who I think could succeed with any type of quarterback. But I think honestly, I think he'd have done pretty well with Knicks, all things considered. But he's out, and we got Reynolds, Franklin in now, and hopefully we'll see what happens with Sutton and Mims emerging as well. So all things considered, hopefully it gets a little better there. But guys, we've been on for 35 minutes, and I've had like no coffee. You could still even see it just splashing there. So I got to get going. I'm sure the little guy is going to be up here pretty soon. So appreciate everyone coming in here, taking the time. Click the thumbs up on the way out if you would. Make sure that helps support us, especially with Scott gone. It's a little bit pads my ego a bit, so I appreciate that. Shout out to Michael Ronquillo coming in with the thumbs up. We always appreciate you. GGG with the super chat as well. You guys are killing it. I always love hearing from Mark Schrader in the house, Michael Ronquillo, of course, Ernie Mays, Jeremy Collin, Rob Bucksbaum. Always great to see you. Roy Osborne, our guy, Diamond Rattler. Go Blacks, man. That's who we're here for. I appreciate you coming in and saying hello. I wanted to say hello to, there's one more in here. Eric Flynn, of course, as well. Thank you so much. You guys are great. Have a great rest of your day, guys. Happy hump day. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. I'm at Nick Kendell, MHH. Also follow us at Mile High Huddle. And of course, Facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and Facebook.com/Mile High Huddle pod. And as that ticker says there underneath, please subscribe to the show, like, and share on your social media platforms. That's going to do it for us today, guys. So Michael coming in again. MLA saying good show. Appreciate you. Good to see you, Colin. Have a great rest of your week. Make sure you guys are continuing to choose kindness and compassion. Go Broncos.